Hello everyone, my name is Amir from Meshmatic. Today we are going to look at some problems about UVs inside Maya. I've prepared this model for you to review. This model was originally brought in from a CAD model and converted into a mesh, but again, converting stuff from one format to another format is always not easy. So sometimes you have to come into Maya and fix them manually. So in this case, when you look at this model, you can see some parts of it actually don't have any UV sets, and some parts of it have useless UV sets. So that's what we are going to fix today together. Before we start cleaning up our UV, which is fairly an easy task, it's in my experience, regenerating UVs or generating new UVs are more accurate when your model is not triangulate, it's quadrangulated. And in Maya, there are really easy tools to convert tris into quads. For example, if you go under Mesh menu up here, and then under Quadrangulate, click on this square to open the settings. Make sure you uncheck all these boxes and then press apply or quadrangulate, and look what happens. All the tris are turned into a quads. This method may not work if your mesh is very different. Like for example, this does not look as easy as what this tire was before. Let's try on this tire, for example. So this looks like a fairly clean, easy to recalculate mesh. And if I go under mesh and quadrangulate, okay, this is better, but not every face was able to turn into a quad, which is not bad. Now for this one, this tire, there are a couple of different ways to generate UVs. The first easy way, the easiest way in Maya is to select here. Select this tire, go into UV and select automatic. And look what happens in this menu. Maya instantly generates different UV shells. If you don't know what UV shell is, each of these are a shell. And when you right click on this area, you can access UV shells, edges, UVs, and faces. So UVs are these, each dot on these faces is a UV, but UV shell is a combination of all those UVs. So this shell here is, if I press F on my keyboard, I can see that this shell is here, and this shell is here, and so on. In some projects this is good enough and you don't have to really make any other changes, but in some other projects it becomes necessary to clean up the UV because this is going into painting. So the way I do it is, instead of creating an automatic UV shell set, I go into UV and I click on camera based UV, and look what happens. Basically, Maya takes the same camera you're looking at the mesh and then takes a UV shell out of it, or generates a UV shell out of it. And if I select this under modify, unfold, if I click here, Maya does its best to try to unfold the UV. Let's see if it can do. No, it didn't. So what I want to do now is to manually come here, select these edges, and cut the tire in certain areas to create that shell. So if I double click on this edge, it will go and select the edge loop. And I can come here and select cut. By the way, because I'm going to be using this menu, I'm going to undock it and use it. So this is going to be a cut. And did you notice as soon as I click on cut, it highlighted the UV. It means now I have two different shells. They are just cut from this side. If I want to have another cut inside so I can unfold it, I have to do the same thing with the other edges. I can't see the edge inside the tire, so I'm going to isolate this mesh. If I click here, this will hide everything and just show me this tire. Okay, so I can see in here I have all these other faces. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this edge loop, click cut, and look what happened. So now if I come and select a shell, I can move this on the side. So this is this side of the tire, and this one is this side of the tire. It's not a bad idea to create more splits. Edge, double click, and cut. And if I go back here and select shells, I can see that, okay, I have another piece of UV. I'm just gonna temporarily put them here, and then I will clean up the layout later. Now, as a quick test, I want to see if I can unfold this shell already. So select the shell, click unfold, and I see that, okay, not bad. All the edges are unfolded properly. I'm gonna select this one, go into modify, unfold, or Control U. Very nice. And this one, which is this area, the internal area of this tire. Unfold. Okay, excellent. Everything seems really good. It turned out really great. Now I'm gonna select these three. I want these UV shells to be sitting inside 0 to 1, 0 to 1, because that's how most of the 3D painting softwares work. So I'm gonna select all these, and let's see if it was under here. Yep, modify layout. This tool, what it does is it collects all the selected UVs and it fits them inside the UV. One thing I should be very worried about is where these areas are getting super close. In game engines especially, colors start to leak from one UV to another. So for that, I would come into layout and I'm looking for paddings, shell paddings. And let's see what would one do. Okay, I see that it moved it very little. So if I change this to 10, okay, now it's adding more space here. Tile padding, let's change this to 10 and apply. What tile padding is, imagine this is a tile. 0 to 1, 0 to 1. It's always a good idea to leave some space to the tiles, because that's also another graphic processing issue sometimes. If your shell is too close to the edge, then in your PNG file or your JPEG file, when you paint them for textures, they start to also do some weird stuff that is also known as shadows or color shadows. So it's good to have 10 and 10 pixels for padding in the shells and the tiles. And that's it. So the UV for the tire is ready. You can go ahead and do the same thing for example, this area. It's not a bad idea to always check with the automatic, see how it works. If it doesn't look good, then again, go ahead and use the camera based and then cut your UV into separate pieces. Same thing with here. This one does not have any UV. Let's see if automatic does any good job. Okay, this is not bad actually. So I'm gonna leave it with automatic. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in next video.